So January 2016, go to page 1. I want to focus on these topics. If you look up here real quick. Okay. GDSR, you need to know how to do it. It should be a slam dunk every time. Mortgages, just in general, finding payments, you should know it every time. Insurance, I want you to nail that one every time. Land transfer tax and property tax. So today I'm just gonna do like a scavenger hunt. We're just gonna go through those. I grabbed random questions from those booklets, so I'm gonna use those booklets. If you wanna grab those exams, I'm gonna list them as I go through it. If you get the ones wrong where you have to explain, justify, all of that stuff, I'll be like, okay, fair. The wording was weird. But these ones, I hope you can just nail those, okay? So it could be that you're already done. If I send you to a certain question, just wait for me. I still want to clarify. So January 2016, it's the yellow one. It's the golden one. It's called goldenrod, this one. So January 2016, go to page 1. And basically, if you're done this one, I'm going to grab a few from the home finance section on this booklet. So just keep going. Morning. Just keep going. So I'm just going to write that down. January 2016, page 1 for now. So just work on that. Get the GDSR calculated and do B as well. Okay? So January 2016, goldenrod. Take a few minutes. And if you don't have it, there are some copies over there by the card. Not many left, but there's some there. All right, I'm just going to go over it. The thing is with GDSR is everything has to be a monthly amount. So monthly mortgage payment, monthly heating, annual property taxes. So that's the problem right there. You need to divide this by 12 before you do anything else. Okay, so 3180 divided by 12, that's 265, and it's a round number, so we're happy about that. So this is the monthly amount. Sometimes they give you the income right away, sometimes it comes a little later. So the calculate David's gross debt service ratio, GDSR, if his gross monthly income, and there is monthly again, so we're good. Gross monthly income is $39.58. So the GDSR calls for mortgage payment, heat, property tax, divided by income. All of that is multiplied by 100 to get it into a percentage. These three up here are called housing costs, okay? If they ever ask for that, it's housing costs. So those three things are compared to your income, and so you get 925 plus 235 plus 265, so those three divided by the income, which is 39.58. Take your time on these, okay? They leave you lots of space for a reason. Add up the top, you get 1425 divided by 39.58 times 100. Now you go ahead and divide, multiply by 100, you get 36% even. You don't need the 2 zeros there. 36 is fine, more. So 36% is the GDSR. And in your study sheet, you should have an indication that 32% is like that number. You must mention it when the B part comes in. Explain whether David will be approved for the home mortgage, and you say no, since the GDSR is above 32%. Okay, so this, they're gonna look for that. If you don't mention 30%, oops, sorry, you don't get the mark there. And that'll be a shame. It's an easy mark in my opinion. Because even if you get this wrong, but you answer this correctly, you still get a mark there. So keep that in mind. Next, insurance, right next door. Okay? Don't bring the pink sheet, the tables, don't bring any of that. Everything is provided here for you. The nice thing is, you don't have to choose the right table. They will give you the table that is needed for this question. Okay? Right next, on the next page. So, can you give this a try? I know some of you already did it, but just a homeowner wants to purchase insurance, $200 deductible, The house is valued at 195 in area 2. Calculate the total cost of the insurance. And we never add taxes. Don't worry about it. Some of the booklets may have, the older ones. So give that a try real quick. Maybe I'll just remind you of the formula. This I will remind you of. Insurance, my formula is you need to grab something from the table for sure. That covers up to what? 200K, right? This value will cover your house up to $200,000 worth of coverage. And your overage, that's how much you're over 200,000 if that ever happens. You multiply it by a dollar amount per $1,000. Okay, sorry. And if they want a $200 deductible, we add 10%. So that's what this tail here is. If you want a $200 deductible. Okay. If you don't want a $200 deductible, you just leave it like that, and this is by definition a $500 deductible policy. We only have those two choices in this book, in this course. It's not like that in real life. We have more options in real life, right? But this is the formula, one more time, so give that a try. It's only 2 marks. If it's 2 marks, there shouldn't be overage, in my opinion. Like it'll be more if it's over 200,000. So give it a try, see what you get. Okay. So in this case, insurance, I'm going to go, I need 195,000, area 2, and I want comprehensive. So let's see here. Area 2 comprehensive, I need to cover up to 195,000. So you just make sure you grab the right value, right? Area 2 comprehensive, so you're going to grab that one. You're obviously not going over, right? Because 195, oops, I grabbed the wrong number, didn't I? Yeah, sorry, this is not it. It's this one. 554 per year. It's always per year, okay, these things. Insurance. So 554, you're not over, so you can put a 0 for this whole thing. But you do want to multiply by 1.10, okay? So you get a mark there, and you're going to get another mark for adding 10%. So it's basically 554 plus 0. We're not going to bother with that. That's 609.40, right? Like you need to add the 0 there, not just 4. Boom, you got the mark. 2 marks there. But keep in mind, if the insurance had been 210,000, let's just do like if they had wanted 210,000. Right? How would this have changed? Let's say everything else stays the same. You would go 554 plus you're over by $10,000. Sorry, I actually did something wrong there. I'm going to fix that in a bit. Hold on. It's not 554 because you're adding more insurance. Morning. So now if you max out, you grab the 571 and then you add $3.03 for every $1,000 you're over. Okay? So that'd be 571. And I already forgot the other one, 303. I'm not going to solve this. I'm just going to show you what the setup would have looked like. It would have looked like this if you wanted something, anything over 200,000 would look like this, okay? You just have to figure out how much over 100,000, 200,000 are you. And so if they did this, this would be a 3 to 4 mark question, by the way. And if you work through some of those booklets, you've seen that, okay? All right, insurance is good. Couple has purchased a house in Brandon for their son to live while he attends university. That is nice. That is nice. I didn't have that privilege. State 2 ongoing expenses related to home ownership. Ongoing. And this is where I'm going to ask you, you know, if you're just careful on your study sheet, under home finance, a mortgage payment would be ongoing. Insurance would be ongoing. Like just go to your insurance section and say that's ongoing. Land transfer tax, that's a one-time. a one-time, that's an expense that you just do at the very beginning. Property taxes is also ongoing. So just in your your list of things on your study sheet, you can already come up with some ongoing expenses. Okay? So your mortgage payment, property taxes. You can talk about insurance if you want it, but don't give me too much. Just stick with the two. But there you go. That one was a quick one to do real quick. Let's go to page 6 here. Would you know some preventative home maintenance? It's just random, guys. It doesn't even say roof. It doesn't say basement. It doesn't say anything. Just random. Well, why don't you just stick to the roof, right? Inspect. Oh, costs. You need to make sure you make it a cost, you make it an expense, right? Preventative maintenance, not emergency repairs. Okay? Have an inspector check the roof for damages. Boom, you got it. Another thing you could do is, what's an example that wouldn't be the roof? I would just say, check for cracks. Sorry, cracks around the house and seal it. Okay, so you're paying for that, obviously. Check for cracks around the house and seal it. Replace weather stripping. That would be, right, preventative maintenance, like the rubber little seal around doors and windows, replacing that. And don't talk about the lawn, like, or anything else. Just talk about the house in itself, right? It could be replacing furnace filters. Right? Replacing furnace filters, or having an inspector, or having someone come and check your furnace on a regular basis. Anything that costs you money, obviously, and it will lengthen the life of the house, components on the house. Okay, that's preventative maintenance, just in general. So honestly, if you're just specific enough, just don't say maintenance. If you just say maintenance, you're using, right? They're already talking about maintenance. Like, don't use maintenance again. Be specific, right? Be specific. We're January 2016. If you're joining us. Let's go to page 7. I'll talk about property taxes. This one is a very simple property tax question. It is only worth 2 marks. This is on page 7. Can you give that a try? I'm not going to say anything about this one yet. Okay. We're on page 7, January 2016, if you want to follow. In this case, a house and land have an assessed value of $225,000. The portion percentage is 45%. I'm going to say something about that. If it's property taxes and they mention the 45%, chances are you're going to have to use it. Okay, they're not just going to randomly put it in there. But don't always multiply everything by 0.45 when it comes to property taxes. The municipality has a tax rate of 32 mils. What does that mean? You should think, if it's mils, you should think of it as over 1,000. Okay? Immediately. If it's a mill rate, right? If it's a mill rate, they don't say mill rate, they say mills, but that's a mill rate. Calculate the general municipal tax. Okay, general. First of all, sorry, before I start, I need the portioned. Portioned assessment I need it as a dollar amount, so I'm going to go 225,000 times 0.45. Okay, that's where that comes from. I need that every time before you do a mill rate, you need the portioned assessment, and in this case, you have to calculate it. I don't have the key in front of me, so you're just going to have to bear with me here. So the city is going to, the municipality, wherever you live, is going to tax you on this. This is worth a mark right here. You're just coming up with that. And from now on, any mill rate that they throw at you, you multiply this by the mill rate. So in this case, the municipal tax would be 101,250 times the 32 mill rate. But remember, you got to divide it by 1,000. And so I just grab that number times 32 divided by 1,000, and that's 3,240. That'd be the second mark that you would get here. And I don't know if you remember. Okay, this is where I want this. I call this a curveball. Yeah, but always. So if you need a note under property taxes is mill rate, it's a value over 1,000 every time. So if they say the mill is 45, that means 45 over 1,000 immediately. It's almost like saying 45%. What do? Divide it by 100. If it's mill rate, it's immediately divided by 1,000 for sure. Okay. Now I call this a curveball because if you've been paying attention to property taxes, it's huge, isn't it? What are all the things that come up with property taxes? I'm just going to quickly remind you. Well, first of all, we once we have our portioned assessment, right, we go value times 0.45. That's normally what happens. But sometimes they give you this amount, then it's no need to do that. But then these are the portions that can come up, okay? The municipal tax, you go portioned assessment, right, times a mill rate divided by 1,000. You get a number there. What are the other tax? What's the other tax? There's municipal, then there is education. You remember that? Okay. Education tax. You would still go PA, portion assessment, times whatever mill rate they give you, divided by 1,000, you get that. And then there were what? I don't know if you remember that. Improvements. Do you remember that part? Improvements. That is frontage in feet, okay, how wide the properties, times some sort of dollar amount, and just a dollar amount, sorry, I shouldn't say divided by anything. It'll just be given to you, so you get that, okay? What else could be thrown in there? One last thing you're not supposed to forget. If there are credits, you take that off, all right? You subtract it. Credits, subtract, put a little minus here, okay? So that huge thing is property taxes in a nutshell, okay? So you would go this plus this plus this minus credits. Now, could they just, this is what they did now, right? I can just block this, right? They just asked you to do this part. You had to do this, but once you know your portion assessment, you use it here. Times the mill rate divided by 1,000, you get a number. They could have asked you for education taxes. You would have to take that mill rate divided by 1,000, right, and multiply it by the portion assessment. Improvements, they will tell you how wide the property is, multiply it by the dollar amount and get an amount there. They could give you a table with all that information. Look at my tests. If you go look at my tests, I've done that there, right? I give you the mill rates, all of that in a table. So how they throw it at you varies. There could be no credit. There could be no improvements, so it's just down to that. One last curveball that I've seen, guys. They make you calculate the municipal. They flat out give you the education tax. They just say that it's 3,000. They just tell you what it is. So no need to do this part. Okay, so just read carefully. Read carefully. That's all I'm going to say. But this is property tax in a nutshell. Okay, portion assessment. Only if they mention 45% will you have to do this step. If they don't mention it, they most likely give you this already. Okay, don't be multiplying by 0.45 just because you see it on your study sheet. Okay, it is very dependent on the scenario. Okay, enough with this booklet. Okay, I'm going to give you some more to try. I'm going to go to the year June 2018. June 2018, there's a property tax. It's a full-blown ABC. I feel like they overkilled it with the ABCs there, but that's okay. It's home finance, page 1, June 2018. It's the green one. Go to it, okay? And if you've already done it, just work through all the other questions that you haven't done in this booklet, okay? I'm just grabbing random ones to prepare you for, let's see. Satram's home is assessed. So it's assessed at $430. That's what it's worth on the market. Calculate the total portion assessment for the property if the portion percentage is 45%. No big deal, right? You just take the value, multiply by 0.45. I don't have the key in front of me, so it's 193,500. Okay, there we go. The mill rate for the municipal tax is 24 mills on the portion assessment. So now we're using this moving forward when it comes to mill rates. So just go 193,500 times 24. Don't divide by 1,000. Sorry, don't forget to divide by 1,000. That's what I meant to say. Times 24 divided by 1,000. That's 4,644. Okay, so that's the municipal tax. We don't pay the 193, guys, okay? That's just used to calculate how much we're going to pay down the road. In addition to the municipal taxes, education tax for 3,870 and a provincial tax credit of 700. Calculate the total amount of property tax to be paid. So we take the municipal, we already are given the education tax. We will subtract the credit, and this is how you get your mark here. Okay, so still have that. I'm just going to add 3,870 minus 700, so 7,814 per year. Okay, per year. So the credit is 700. I need to subtract that, right? And yeah, if they had said education tax, improvements, all of that, right? You would add all of those things, but never forget to subtract the credit at the end. Got it? I'm going to do this one. I'm going to sneak this one. I didn't plan on doing this one, but I think we can do this real quick. This is on page 3. Sam is moving out. She must pick between the following 2 options: a house or an apartment. Both have the same space available. A house is $1,400 a month on mortgage payment. Rent is $1,400 rent, obviously. So everything is the same. Okay, explain one possible advantage of purchasing a house. My favorite one is you build equity. You may renovate at will, right? Whenever you want. You could say you have more privacy. Some people said yard. I remember that. You may have your own yard compared to an apartment, and I think you would be okay in this case. But you could rent a house as well, but they do say apartment, so just be careful, read carefully. Explain one possible advantage of renting. Lower startup. costs, right? Lower maintenance costs, etc., right? It's easier to relocate. Don't say you can move whenever you want. It's just easier. You don't need to like put your house on the market. You don't need to find a buyer. You don't need to find a buyer that's gonna buy it at the right time, because sometimes that is an issue as well. All of those things, you don't need to worry about that, okay? You do have a lease and you have some commitment there. Next, let's go page 4 real quick. And then I have a land transfer tax and an insurance, and I think that's it for today. I could go on forever, but I think you can only handle so much, right? Can you try this one? This one, 4 marks for this page, and I thought there was a lot in this one. Can you try this question here? So there will be a mix between easy ones that you can answer just like that, and somewhere you have to like push the brakes and just be like, okay, let's read this carefully, okay? The down payment is not a dollar amount, so you got to do something about that. So try this. Jingwei is purchasing a home for $310,000. There's a down payment. There is a down payment, 5%. She will finance over 25 years. Calculate the amount borrowed for the mortgage. And some of you you will have the mortgage payment formula, which is price minus down, and then there's the dollar amount per thousand, right? You'll have that. But if you have a good study sheet, you know that price minus down is the mortgage, the actual mortgage or loan. That is what you need to borrow. Okay, this is what you need to borrow after. So let's find the down payment first. And you got to bear with me here. 15,500. Okay. And then you go 310. I disagree with the way they marked this one. Just 1 mark for this. I don't think that is fair. Should be 2 marks in there. So it's 294. This is actually how much you are borrowing. That is what they're after. That's essentially this little part here in your formula. Okay? I call this curveballs, right? Because, yeah, my formulas are there to help you, but they don't always apply completely, right? Like you don't do the whole thing here. Next, calculate the monthly payment if it costs $526 per month for each $1,000. This is what we call the table rate. There is no table, they just flat out give you the table rate. So you just need to take the $294,500, right, what you're borrowing, and just multiply it by the $526 over 1,000. Okay, so just do that. Don't worry about the negative. I just typed it in differently. This is your payment. So even if you got this wrong, you may still score marks if you're consistent thereafter, especially if it's an A, B, C, D kind of question. It just flows, right? So there's your payment. Calculate the cost of financing interest paid over the 25 years. I hope that when you read this, you're thinking total interest, not just interest on the first month. It's called the finance charge. Some of you have that on your study sheet. You asked me to look over it, and I did see that. That's actually smart to do that. But also them saying over the 25 years, it's the entire mortgage. So you got to take your payment, you got to multiply by 12 months, then you got to multiply that by the number of years. In this case, it's 25. All of this is what you paid the bank. Then you subtract how much you borrowed from them. So that difference is going to be the total interest they've charged you. So I'm just going to go times 12 times 25. So you've paid $464,721, and you subtract the $294,500, and that is $170,221. No decimals, so that's kind of nice. So 2 marks for a question like that. Okay, so there we go. That's your mortgage one more time in a different way. Okay, very different way than what you're used to perhaps. I mean, the total interest, to be honest, this part here you've seen many times. What I see a lot is students only doing this first part. They do this part and they neglect, they don't subtract how much they've borrowed. And so it costs you technically, I think it's maybe 0. No, I don't think it's 0, but you gotta watch out. It's a concept. Next, let's do land transfer tax. This is also on this page, but it's a very weird table. But you didn't need to use the table, okay? We were told you do not, it was just there for, so this is on page 6. Steve is purchasing a property for $230,000. If you remember, 200,000 is kind of like scaled, like there's a tier, and then after 200,000 is a fixed 2%. Shown in the chart, he has found that the first 150,000 land transfer tax will be $900. The land transfer tax is calculated as follows. So they actually give you the breakdown of the table, and so A, calculate the land transfer tax due on the next $50,000. So they wanted this part right here. So you could calculate it in here, or you could actually just put it in there if you wanted. Here's what I would do if I mean, use my method that I've shown you again and again, right? 230,000 minus 30,000. That's the first 30. You don't pay anything on it. It's 0. You're left with 200,000. Okay? Then the next amount is 60,000. You take 60,000 away. On the 60,000, you pay this much. You got to watch out. You pay 0.5%, which is 0.005 as a decimal. That's $300. They've already done that for you. Then you're left with 140,000. You subtract the next 60 from it. You pay 1% on that. Okay, this is 1, and that would be $600. They already done that for you. So these 3 we've just confirmed. Take this away, you're left with 80,000. Okay, can you subtract the next 50? Yes, you can. Okay, it's going to be a bit tight, but we can do it. 30,000 here, but on the 50,000 you pay 1.5%. Okay, if you do the math, it's 750. So you could put it in there if you want, or just make sure you circle it in A. I would circle that in A. And what happens to the remaining amount? It just gets a flat 2%. If you're left, yeah, go ahead. If you're left with any amount after going through these 4 values, you give it a flat 2%. So it's 30,000 times 0.02. So sorry, I made a mistake. I see it. $600. I'm going to write it down in here, but it's not really answering. So just circle the 750. And then it says calculate the land transfer tax due on the amounts in excess of 200,000. So anything over 200,000. That's what they're trying to say here. And the answer is $600. So we can just take this and do it one more time. Do this bottom line here and get $600 there, and you got 600. Notice that they never ask what's the total. Do you see that? They never ask what's the total amount of land transfer tax. Obviously, you would just add up all of these amounts that you've calculated here on the tail. Okay, so just remember that. I thought it'd be worth reminding you of this one. Land transfer tax, sometimes it's like this, guided. So just read carefully and see what needs to be done there. Here, let's go to 7. This one is a quick, just a quick, is this insurance based? Sven owns a home. Sven did not move, but in 2017 his house insurance premiums were $100 less than his 2016. Describe one possible reason why Sven's premiums were lower in 2017. Remember what affects insurance is the value of the home. What if you're doing $200 or $500 deductible, all of those things. Obviously, it says Sven did not move, so you can't say, oh, maybe he got a cheaper house, or you can't say that. That's out of the question. He may have switched to a $500 deductible, right? He may have increased his deductible. That's why he saved. Maybe he installed an alarm system. Maybe he chose less flooding coverage. That's just a complete apart, but I think those first two are good enough. Saying maybe his house value went down. I don't know about that. I would be careful with that. Just say what you could say is he did not make any claims. Right? If you're claim free, then you often get a discount as well. So think of those kinds of things when it comes to, but please don't say anything about the down payment, guys, when it comes to insurance. I don't know why, but I think students scan their study sheet. They're like, oh yeah, lower your down payment. Insurance has nothing to do with your down payment. It has nothing to do with your mortgage, okay? So just keep that in mind. This is January 2024, page 3, 1 mark. Let's just do this together. Mary's annual home insurance is $823. She adds sewer backup coverage to the policy at a cost of $650 per month. There's that per month. Okay? This is annual. Right, so every year $823, but add $650 per month on the policy. Calculate her total annual insurance cost. All you would have to do here, folks, is just, sorry, no. Calm down, right? $823 plus 12 months times $650. That's all you would have to do there. And I know what happened this year. They're like, Mr. Dixon, you never talked about this. And it's like, yeah, I know. I can't always predict everything because they gave us 0 for home finance. It's like you guys got to make your own stuff. So over the years, I've made my stuff and a little better. And I would say, though, in this case, just read and go with the flow. It's a 1 mark question, right? So that also should tell you it's not a whole lot of work that is required here. And one last thing, so you can't say I didn't warn you about this one. I would love to do percentile rank, but you're going to hate me for it. This is on page 2 of January 2024. Maybe you never got to it. This one threw us all a little bit for a spin here. It says, how do you pronounce this, folks? Any French folks in here? Benoit? It's now on YouTube. Anyways, takes possession of his new house on October 1st. The previous owner paid $26.10 in property taxes for the entire year. Okay? Calculate Benoit's property tax for his 3-month portion of the year. So there's a thing about paying property tax is that if someone pays for the entire year and you sell your house and somebody comes in, they have to pay you back what you've already paid. I think that would make sense. So the key here is it's 3 months worth of property taxes that you have to pay back to the previous owner. Yes. So you just take that and divide it by 12 to see like what would that be monthly. This one I haven't seen like this. I think the first time I've seen it. So having this property tax bill equates to this much per month. Benoit only has to pay 3 months worth of this stuff. So I'm just going to go times 3 months. And so that's 650, 250. So this is how much he has to repay the previous owners. Now you know. It's either like if you were here today, you will be prepared for it. Got it? Okay. I think I want to be done, and you want me to be done. But maybe what I will just say here is I'll just ask you to make sure you cover percentile rank. You go through several exams and figure out percentile rank. Percentile rank has to do with how you compare to someone, to everybody else in that class, in that group. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really care about your actual score. But this one is actually fairly straightforward, okay? The table below shows the number of students in a math class and their marks on a quiz. Jen, the only student who received a mark between 70 and 79, calculated her percentile rank as follows. So Jen, I'm guessing, yeah, this is her. And 9 divided by 21 times 100 is 42.86. Describe 2 mistakes she made in her solution. What's mistake number 1? Can you have decimals?
No.
Can't have decimals. The answer cannot be a decimal. Okay. Mistake number 2. Remember that PR is B over N times 100. What does B stand for? The number of values below the score we're looking at, and this is total. Let's see what B should have been. If this is Jen, right, between 70 and 79 she scored, then it should only be 6 and 2 is 8, right? This should have been 8. What about the total? Is that correct? 6 and 2 is 8, 9, 17, 21. So the total is good, but the B is incorrect and the answer is incorrect. So you can say she counted herself for the entry for the number of students below 70 to 79%. Okay, something like that. Just make a reference. You can even like make an arrow saying that is incorrect because that should have been 8. Use whatever you can to convey to show us that you understand, and you will score the marks. Okay. So if they ask you what's the correct answer, it would be 8 over 21 times 100. Let's see what that gives us. That's 38.09 and something, but you can't have that. No percentages. Okay? 38. I'm just going to leave it at 38. Don't do the 2 answers like I used to do, okay? Just give one answer, either round up or down, that's fine. And what does that mean? Did she do pretty good compared to the rest of the class? I don't think so. Think of it this way. Middle is 50th, then you'd have 50 and 50, like 50 below you, 50 above. If you're 38, you are here where only 38% scored lower than you. Okay, so that's Jen right there. I would say not so much. Okay, it doesn't matter what your actual score is. Percentile rank compares you to the rest. So if it says, what does the percentile rank tell you is, well, 38% of students scored less than Jen. Okay, so she didn't do so well compared to the rest of the class, even though 70 to 79 is a pretty good mark. It's a pretty good score. You might be happy with it, right? Just throwing in a curveball, what's the mode mark? Which one is the most popular? It would be, right? It would be between 80 and 89 because there's 8 instances of that. There you go. I think that's it. There's some weighted mean, all of that, finding a mean, median, mode. I'm going to leave that. There's a crash course on stats, so you can watch that video.